Hi, welcome to Yale and Hollywood Fest 2022, and we're here with the filmmakers of the opening night double feature, American Justice on Trial, People versus Newton. And it's a film that I saw actually way before the submissions, and I just thought, wow, we've got to program this film because it's so important. And Yale alum Lise Pearlman sent it to me. And so I just want to introduce two filmmakers plus Melvin Newton, who is a brother of Huey Newton. So we have Andrew Abrams, who's the director, one of the directors of the film. And we have Lise Pearlman, who's actually the author of two books on the Newton trials. And she's the producer of this film. And then we have Melvin Newton, who is actually the brother of Huey Newton, very much the subject of the film. So I guess can I just have Andrew? Can you first introduce yourself and what's your filmmaking background and how did you come to make this feature? Make this documentary.
Oh, that's a big question. My background is I'm a nonfiction filmmaker. I've been making films for around 30 years or so. I have a nonprofit production company called Open Eye Pictures, my background is actually in visual anthropology, which is exploring cultures through visual media. And I went to grad school at USC. So I bring a lot of different, I wear a lot of different hats, put it that way. So what started me in filmmaking was my interest in photography and then cinematography. So I started working for this project when Lisa contacted me as a cinematographer for this project. So I also work sometimes as a cinematographer. And then began getting more and more involved in it. I did some editing for it, and then it sort of evolved into ending up directing it, along with my co-director Herb Verrett, who's not here, and then also producing it. So I wear a lot of hats. I enjoy it. I enjoy wearing a lot of hats, and I was. Since Lisa is a retired lawyer and judge and author and not a filmmaker, I wanted to make sure that this film got finished, and it did.
And Lise, tell us, why did you wrote two books on the subject, and why did you decide to make a film out of it?
Actually, it started with Yale and Hollywood. I had written a book, The Sky's the Limit, People versus Newton, the Real Trial of the 20th Century, which focused on the importance of that trial that had been overlooked by most historians and legal scholars who wrote about trials of the century. And when I finished that book, I thought that David Harper, who was the African-American foreman of the Newton trial, should have been a subject of a film. And so I went to Yale and Hollywood in March of 2013, and I tried to see if I could interest anyone in making a feature film with actors, having him play the central role. And I wound up in a workshop that was a documentary and narrative film workshop, and almost everybody there was actually making their own documentary. And I got to make a presentation, and they said, "You have to make a documentary out of this." And I realized if I was going to do that, which I hadn't intended, I'd have to go quickly because people were in their 70s who were still around from the trial, or 80s. And so I contacted Bob Richter, who had done 100 documentaries with Walter Cronkite and Edward R. Murrow and on his own. And he was a longtime boyfriend of Faye Stender, who was one of Newton's lawyers. And so I'd interviewed him when I was writing my book. And he said yes, and that's how we got started. And then a few years into the project, he got ill, and then Andy took over as director.
And Melvin, so you are a key figure of the documentary because when the documentary was when you guys made the documentary, Huey has already passed. So what was it like when they first come to you with this idea? And were you receptive at first? And
when Lisa came to me with the idea, I was immediately responsive. She's a very winning person, and I felt very relaxed with her, and off we went.
that's amazing. And Andrew, what is this whole filmmaking process like? Because you came on board first as cinematographer, and then you also enlisted Herb to edit it, and then you probably offer him a co-directing credit. And can you tell us about the whole filmmaking process?
I'm sorry. What was the question? What was that? I didn't catch the beginning.
Oh, what was the filmmaking process like for you? Because you came on board as a cinematographer, and then you probably enlisted Herb to be the as the editor, to be the co-director also. And can you talk about the whole process?
Okay. Actually, Herb is the co-director, not editor. I actually edited it. And we had some help, a former editor who also contributed earlier on. What was the process like? It was long. It was a long process, as many independent film projects are. I mean, I think I've been involved in it probably about 7 years, and Lisa's been involved in it longer than that. So it's been long, and we're just excited to have been able to finish it, and to have been getting some of the honors that we have, and also having it screened and seen. And we hope that will continue to happen, and we'll get it out to, let's say, the masses, and we'll be able to use it for educational distribution, to really use it as a tool for awareness and education.
Melvin, what was it like to revisit this trial and this experience so many years after, like now, basically? And yeah.
Well, I've revisited it often, so this was just simply another revisit of it. And there was an opportunity to get this out to the public, and I felt that it was a good cause, and I was perfectly happy to become a part of it. I have a long history as an educator at the community college level, 50 years as a matter of fact, and education is what I live for, and this was a continuation of it, and kind of a natural way to move forward. So I found it a good way to convey things that had been shared, perhaps, well, with news persons and with individuals, and this was a way to get it out to the masses.
I did read in the San Francisco Chronicle saying that in the beginning you were not a Black Panther partner, you were not a Black Panther member, but then you did join the Black Panther. I think, is it after the trial or around the trial time? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I guess you could call it the reluctant Panther. I wasn't going to be a follower of my younger brother, my baby brother that I had taken care of and protected all his life. And he had founded an organization that was pretty radical. I was a graduate student at the University of California at the time that he did that. And I was immediately involved as an advisor on things that he had concern about. For example, when they were doing the 10-point program, they came to my apartment in University of California Village to get some help on simply the mechanics of it. And so that was the beginning of my involvement, and my involvement with my brother is a continuation of something that had been all our lives. But he had an incident that was going to threaten his life, because he was going to be tried and it was going to be a capital case. And if you're going to go into that kind of situation, you have to be represented. And American justice is there for you if you can pay for it. And obviously, we didn't have the kind of money that would be necessary to pay for this kind of trial. So what could I do about it? So I entered into an effort to put together a defense committee. And I was advised by William Patterson, who had experience in doing this kind of thing. He was 80 years old at the time. And he advised me on how to put together a defense committee and how to protect myself in doing so, because you could end up, if you made the wrong mistake, with problems with the mail, raising money through the mail. That's what happened to Garvey. He was thrown out of the country for that. So he told me how to handle it, how to be responsive, how to keep the records. And I went about the business of doing that. And one day there was a knock on the door, and it was the FBI. That's the kind of visit that you don't want to get. And I want to know, what's this about? And he simply was giving me a subpoena to the grand jury. And I had already been involved in raising funds, so I had kept copious records of everything that I did. And I ended up in front of the grand jury, and I bored them because all the questions that were asked were in my book, and I could give it back to them. So anyway, that was my initial involvement. But I know your question was, how did I become a Panther? At one point, I became the Minister of Finance. Now, how did that happen? In order to raise funds, you have to let people know about it. So I had a press conference, and I knew that I would be asked a question as to whether I was a Panther. So I was all prepared to handle that. I was going to have my press conferences and then walk off. Little did I know how skilled the news people were at handling things their way. So after I had the press conference, before I could walk off, they shot the question at me: "Are you a Panther?" In just seconds, I'm thinking, if I say no, they'll want to know why. If I give the wrong answer, this is going to cast a shadow over Huey. If I say yes, I know that I'm in the party. So what should I say? So I said, yes, I am a Black Panther. And the party member said, yay, now you're going to be the Minister of Finance. So there I was, a party member, and I performed that responsibility as well as running the defense committee. The defense committee went on for a few years, but I was only Minister of Finance for 1 year.
Great, thank you. Wow, what a great story. Lise, so I'm wondering, like, you you definitely have tried to tell the story in at least like writing two novels, writing two books, and also making. Why do you think making a documentary film is important
to get the voice of the people who were there, and to tell the story in this 40-minute film, which is much more limited than my book, American Justice on Trial, which is a companion to it, which tells the whole Panther story. That you have the quotes from the people who were there, but you also have a focus on the jury itself. And this was a revolutionary jury. It's why today we have women and minorities on juries, and we don't consider it strange. Back then, it was revolutionary. Historically, a jury of one's peers was white men, and very few minorities over time, and women not until they got the right to vote. And even then, they were kicked off usually, and they were done so for their own benefit, so they could stay home with their kids or take care of their parents or something like that. And it took until the 70s for the United States Supreme Court to say the defendant has a right to have women included on the jury. But in California, it was earlier.
And Andrew, I know that the film premiered at the world premiered at the San Francisco International Film Festival. Is it 2020, 22, just recently?
Yes.
And how has been the reception like?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I should ask you that. You tell me how you received the film.
I saw it. I was just like electrified, and I think Lise like reached out to me on I think maybe LinkedIn saying I have this film. I said, oh, I've got to see it. I saw it. I said I got to program this because this is such an important piece of work. But I guess like, have you guys played other films? It's already on PBS, right? It's already screened on PBS.
No, we haven't screened it yet. We're just doing the festival circuit right now, and we're doing an Academy Award campaign. It's qualified for the Academy Awards in the short documentary category. So that's what we've been focusing on right now. After that, we will be looking for a broadcast platform and getting it out to distribute educationally.
And
Quentin, just to answer your question, on the website, which is www.justicemovie.com, it lists the reviews, and the original reviews were rave reviews, must see.
well, on that note, I think like, I want to ask, each of you, maybe start with Melvin. What are you guys up to next?
Well, I'm helping Melvin record family history for his children and grandchildren.
Oh wow, that's amazing. I see this little cat coming in. Andrew, are you making a new film?
Yes, we have several films in the works, in post-production right now. 2 films. One is that we're starting to edit in January. It's called Dog War. It's about the Korean dog meat industry, and we're following some American former Army vets who are trying to stop the trade. So that's one film, and then another film is a film called Complicated. It's about kids with a rare and complicated illness called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and it's sort of a microcosm for the larger issue of rare and invisible illnesses, and how these people are falling through the cracks of the medical system. And in this case, many of the kids who have this disease, they're both not believed, and their parents are accused of medical child abuse. So it's touching on very sensitive and controversial issue in the medical system and also legal system, because these kids are sometimes taken away from their families.
Quentin, if you were interested in what other things I'm working on, I'm actually working on the posthumous pardon of Bruno Richard Hauptmann because of another book that I wrote on the Lindbergh kidnapping, which I'm spending a lot of time on now.
And is the book already out?
The book came out. It won an award for as bestseller in true crime.
Okay,
I'm going to be talking about it at various, I'm going to be talking about it at American Academy of Forensic Science come February, but other venues too.
Well, congratulations, everyone. And I'm so excited for people to check out this film at the festival. And thank you so much for being part of the festival. And it's just an honor to have all of you here on this panel. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Quentin.
Care.
Take care.
Bye.